Welcome to Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. In the next half hour, you'll obtain insights and tools to transform your life using the biblical principles found in the 12-step program. We believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience because we all have struggles in life. Struggles with addictions, food, depression, anxiety, and relationships, to name a few. You'll be encouraged to see how others have found a new way of life with hope for the future through life recovery. Your host is Steve Arterburn, founder of New Life Ministries and Women of Faith, author of over 100 books, and teaching pastor at Northview Church in Carmel, Indiana, one of the 20 largest churches in America. Steve is the co-editor of the Life Recovery Bible, the #1 selling recovery Bible. With over 3 million copies sold, this is the Bible given to inmates by Prison Fellowship and the Pew Bible for the Salvation Army. Now here's Steve.
Hi there, Steve Arterburn here, and welcome to another edition of Life Recovery Today. I want to show you something. You know, when Dave Stoop and I put together the Life Recovery Bible, there was an article even in USA Today in '95. Well, in '98, June of '98, they had sold their 200,000th copy of something that they never ever expected to sell over 100,000. So they sent us this special golden special edition. And then in '99, January of '99, it was 250,000. Well, that was the last we ever got of these special Bibles, because then people started hearing about it and it just took off. Now, if you look at a box for everybody, it says over 3 million sold. And here's the really cool thing, that no matter what year you bought it, now or in the future, the pagination is the same. So these Bibles, the first Bibles, have the same page numbers for all the material as this Bible, brand new. And the other thing is, you know, some people don't like to have a Bible that's got life recovery all over it for whatever reason. And they have plain looking Bibles. And I hope if you don't have one, that you'll just call us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or go to newlife.com and get a Life Recovery Bible. You know, I've met with people who have literally been saved by someone giving this Bible to them. Maybe you know somebody and you think, man, it sure wouldn't hurt for them to know about this Bible that takes and integrates the 12 steps with Scripture. And if you know anything about the origins of recovery, we didn't bring the Bible into recovery. No, we brought the Bible back to where the Bible had been in recovery. Because Dr. Bob and Bill W. said that it was out of the good book that they didn't invent the 12 steps, they discovered the 12 steps, especially from the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter, and the book of James. And I especially love reading James. It's a short little book, but you can just see recovery all through there. James 5:16, confess your sins one to another and pray for each other that you might be healed. You know, that little term, each other, that's the key to the beginning and sustaining of AA. Because you go from me and just doing it on my own to getting a friend to help you turn it over to a higher power. And you know, I've talked about this many times, that surrender certainly can be that emotional, that spiritual experience that Bill W. had, and William James described it in his book, had such an impact on Bill W. But you can also surrender simply by saying, I don't know if it's going to work, but it sure worked for some, so I'm just going to comply. Compliance, the decision to comply no matter what, that is another form of surrender. And so you don't know exactly where you're going, you don't know exactly if it's going to work, but because so many other people have succeeded, you just say, I'm going to comply. Now, as for today, I'm wondering if you've ever wondered why it's so hard for people to change. Especially, when we're trying to improve, we want to be a better person, we see it, but why can't it be more easy? It's so difficult. So, in this program, author and co-host of New Life Live, Milan Yerkovich, is going to help us to understand why habits are so hard to break and why it doesn't always feel better before it is better. In recovery, it can be the best pain we experience when we begin to make the change from the pain rather than just deaden the pain. Yet, it's going to require us to persevere through that pain to experience this new life of recovery. And so often we give up just a little bit too soon before we're able to see the benefits of surrender and God intervening in our life. Let's hear from Milan.
Hi, I'm Milan Yerkovich, co-host of New Life Live, and we're going to talk about growth and the discomfort it brings. Why is that? Why does growth bring and involve discomfort? Because change takes us into unfamiliar territory. We are creatures of habit, and we like to do things that don't overly stress us. So we tend to take the same habit with respect to a route to work, the same way we would cook dinner, the same way we would do the washing machine. We tend to get in habits, and we tend to find ourselves doing things differently, and growth is unfamiliar territory, and it takes us out of our comfort zones. As we really enter into adulthood, our body changes and we turn into an adult. And when that happens, we are confused because we think, well, now I'm an adult. And in reality, it's possible that our inner self, the person inside of me, might be stuck in a childhood role, a childhood way of thinking, a childhood definition, or a childhood purpose. And while that childhood role or way of thinking or purpose may have served us well in our childhood for the purpose of coping with our childhood, it doesn't serve us well as an adult. But it is very familiar to us. It is our way of thinking. And so even though it is destructive to adult relationships, we find ourselves in a position whereby we are operating with a mindset and an emotional base that we've been operating with for decades, even going all the way back into our childhood. I often ask my clients in my office when they're struggling or in high levels of conflict with their spouse in my office, how old do you feel right now? And often I will hear 8, 10, 6. And so growth involves discomfort. Why? Because I have to go to unfamiliar places that are out of my comfort zone. Number 2, it's uncomfortable to confront and look in the mirror and look at ourselves and look at the weaknesses within ourselves as well as accept them. It is very hard to integrate the good and bad in ourselves. The Apostle Paul could say, the things I don't want to do, I do, and the things I do want to do, I don't do. And he could accept the fact that he was a conflicted person, that he said there's this wishing to do the right thing inside, but then there's a part of me that does not want to do that. And so to be conflicted internally is a part of our human state or our human existence. It is hard for us to see faults. It is hard for us to admit faults. It's hard for us to admit weaknesses. And like Adam and Eve, we are creatures who fearfully choose to hide and cover ourselves up so that people don't see the real me, and then to really blame other people for why we are what we are. Often, instead of looking at our own weaknesses, we will blame our spouse, others close to us, our bosses for how we feel, and that's very common. because it's uncomfortable to look at ourselves and to confront our weaknesses. One author said it this way: if there is a way to better, it extracts a full look at the worst. If there's a way to better, it extracts a full look at the worst. If I want to grow and if I want to move toward maturity, I must look at the worst in order to get better. Irvin Yalom said that. And that's one of the reasons, again, why growth involves discomfort. Because to look at ourselves is to step out of what our comfort zone is. And number two, to be able to look at ourselves and to look at the worst. The third reason is that present day hurts, for instance, within our marriages or our other primary relationships, even parenting, our primary relationships and our present day hurts often are this thing called triggers. We're triggered. Another person's behavior right now makes me feel something that goes back into my past and grabs it and pulls my past into the present, so that today's event is magnified and it's exponentially bigger. Why? Because the past is fueling it or turbocharging the current day feeling that I'm feeling. Our spouse or other primary attachment figures will often make us have the unpleasant feelings we felt from a long time ago. With our children, they can also elicit and evoke in us feelings that we felt a long time ago. From our childhood, how we felt as a child, how we felt with our siblings, how we felt when we were traumatized perhaps, or how we felt with our parents, or how we felt and what our role was in the family system within which we grew up. Again, as I said in the first segment, we grow up, our body matures, but that doesn't mean that our inner self has matured. And so what happens is when our current day feelings are exacerbated or turbocharged by past history, we overreact without understanding and being able to connect to the past pain. And again, growth is difficult because oftentimes we've forgotten our past pain and we're not conversant with it. This is why attachment researchers from all over the world really value the ability to create an autobiographical sketch of ourselves so that we have the ability to know precisely what the ingredients were of the formula and the recipe that made me, so that I can begin to understand why I do the things I do, because it makes sense. It tells me how I was formed, and then we have the ability to change. But that takes energy too, and that's not easy. Looking at triggers and looking at history are not easy, but it's worth it. We'll discuss this more next time, and listen for my thoughts on the next show, and that's coming up. And if you have any questions, call us at New Life, 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Are you going through your struggles alone? Do you want someone to talk to help you through your pain? Do you feel like a failure when you relapse again, telling yourself, next time will be different? Don't walk this path alone anymore. Join a life recovery group today and be a person that your friends and family can be proud of. God created us to be in community, and we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country, and if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. Life Recovery brings recovery to you, right where you are. You'll take a journey with others to find healing and freedom. Whether you're looking to join a group or start one, New Life Ministries is here for you. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit liferecoverytoday.net.
Welcome back. I hope you can see why I love Milan and I love working with Milan. He really did. I mean, he saved my life when I went through a really tough time. After I got married to Misty, who we married over 17 years ago, he probably wouldn't be married today if he and Kay hadn't really helped us figure it all out. in the beginning. We had to change. Fortunately, we knew that change is a part of marriage, it's a part of life, and we all need some help in navigating that change. The same brain that got you into this problem that you have, well, it's not going to be the one that's going to move you into a life of recovery. So we have to find out, what is that balance? And Milan's going to help us learn more about handling the discomfort that always comes with change. And I think that's one of the great commitments to life, is that I am going to experience the discomfort that leads me to a better place. Here's Milan.
Hi, I'm Milan Yerkovich, co-host with New Life Live, and welcome to another segment on the subject of growth. Growth involves discomfort. Now, why is that? And that's one of the reasons we don't grow. We don't like to be uncomfortable. We all have our creature comforts, and that's why we tend to stay with them and not let them go, because to grow involves pain. If, for instance, I said I wanted to run the LA Marathon next year, it's in March every year in Los Angeles, I could get a book today that would give me the steps and all the things I need to do to get ready for that marathon, so I'd be ready in a year. But guess what? It would take me completely out of my comfort zone. It would throw me into a discipline and an exercise regimen that would require me to be very uncomfortable for a year of my life in order to accomplish that goal. But maybe your goal is not the LA Marathon. Maybe it's a happy marriage, or maybe it's to be a better parent, maybe it's to be a better friend, and maybe a better boss. All these things are super important with respect to our desire to grow. But you know what? We often don't see the need for growth until we are in pain. The pain of being out of shape, the pain of being conflictual with my spouse, the pain of always having difficulties with my kids and being reactive with them, the pain of going from job to job to job, or always feeling as though everybody in the whole world is out against me. It's a painful place. This world is a painful place. And we are in pain often when we seek or learn to grow. Pain incentivizes us. And so as my wife, Kay, who's the queen of one-liners, says, we need to pick our pain. The pain of staying stuck and not growing and learning and having our relationships all in turmoil, or the pain of growth. And which one's more productive? And the one that's more productive is choosing to grow. And even though it's painful, it's very, very much worth it. T.S. Eliot in the play Four Quartets says the following: in order to arrive at what you are not, you must go through the way which you are not. And so we have to go to all new places in order to become something new, and that is uncomfortable. When my wife and I chose to grow 30 years ago into something that we now are today, it involved us working hard at disciplines. We think of spiritual disciplines and what we have to do with staying close to God, and there's a whole list of spiritual disciplines. And we think of physical disciplines, and we think of eating disciplines, and we think of work disciplines, but we never really contemplate as a society emotional and relational disciplines. But when Kay and I worked on our emotional and relational disciplines, which meant we worked on emotional intelligence every day. What do I feel? Because until you know what you feel, you won't know what you need. And then we worked on relational intentions and disciplines to be able to look the other person in the eye and be able to tolerate a conversation just a few feet away, and to be able to hear whatever I had to hear, and to be able to tell you whatever I was terrified to tell you, and to be honest, because God has this value for honesty. It requires for many of us, because we don't know how to do this and it wasn't modeled for us, that we have a mentor or a leader that will guide us in a path that will allow us to know how we can learn these new things. If I'm supposed to go to a way which I am not through a way which I do not know, then I'm going to have somebody teach me that. The answer, in other words, is not inside me inherently. If I never had that formed into me by my parents, I will need to learn it from someone else. And that involves a mentor or a leader who is emotionally and relationally healthy. Number 6, or the 6th major point, is that it was uncomfortable, as I alluded to and spoke of briefly in the last segment. It's uncomfortable to learn to do something different, and that different thing that we did is what we now call in our book the comfort circle. The comfort circle is a biblically driven mandate that and example and model that two people can follow to learn to speak well to one another and to yourself and to God, and then to listen well. And so there's 4 elements to the comfort circle. The first one is to seek awareness. Awareness means I know what's going on inside of me. When Jesus said, "My soul's distressed to the point of death, come watch with and wait and pray with me," to the disciples the night before he died, he was describing his soul. My soul is distressed to the point of death. That's self-awareness. And Psalm 139 says, "Search me, O God. Help me see the anxious, painful ways inside, and help me learn what they are and lead me in the everlasting way." And so part 1 of the comfort circle is self-awareness. Most people have never learned that. It takes time to examine your soul. The second thing is I have to be brave enough to tell somebody. And in so doing, we risk revealing that inner self to another person. But Ephesians 4 says, "Speak the truth in love, each one of you with his neighbor." And at the beginning, 30 years ago, Kay and I were terrified to be able to speak truthfully and honestly. Step 3 is to explore the other person based upon what they said, and to learn to ask probative questions, and to explore, what does this word mean, and what does that emotion mean, and what does this imply? And the Bible says in James 1:19 to be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger, which means we need to try and get information into our ears as quickly as possible. And lastly, resolution. What do you need based upon what you're telling me? What can I do for you that would be helpful to you and would help you to grow? Not what I think you need, or not to fix you, but if you don't know, you won't know what you need. So, in other words, we also grow in community, and community is uncomfortable. Well, I hope these tips have helped. There is more about all of these things in our book, How We Love, but I hope they're helpful. And be sure to call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE for more help. I'll look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Life recovery isn't just about making the courageous choice to give up an addiction or dependency. It's a journey towards health, wholeness, and becoming your very best you. If you need resources to help you in your journey, we can help. There are many life recovery resources that you can do on your own, with a group, or with your church. We have Bibles, workbooks, and devotionals that you can use to work your recovery right where you are. That's the beauty of life recovery. To learn more or to get the Life Recovery Bible or any other life recovery resource, visit liferecoverytoday.net or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Welcome back to Life Recovery Today. I hope you've enjoyed what Milan's had to say here. I really believe in him. And he and Kay wrote this really amazing book, How We Love. And it can help you discover some things you would just never ever dream about yourself and how you relate to other people. I was in counseling with Milan while he and Kay were developing the material, and I got to use it on me before it was a book, and it is life-changing. How We Love, Milan and Kay Yerkovich. Well, I want to finish up here by talking about, many people have never even heard the original Serenity Prayer. They know that there's a short version and a long version, but listen to the words as they originally were written. It says this: God, give us grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed. Courage to change things which should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish the one from the other. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking, as Jesus did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen. You know, that last part there, reasonably happy in this life. Larry Sonnenberg was talking the other day, and he said, I learned this from Steve, that misery is the distance between expectation and reality. And we can't change reality, but we can sure bring our expectation in line with it. And to be thinking, I'm going to be just the happiest guy ever, versus I'm going to experience some reasonable happiness here, it's a really, really big difference. Well, the serenity prayer we use today asks God to grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Serenity is going to ease the discomfort as we make the necessary changes in our life. You get to serenity by that great quote from Bill W., where he said, "Acceptance is the answer to all my problems today." How are you going to find serenity if you don't find acceptance? Now, if you're struggling with the pain of change, well, we can help you find that path to serenity. But you have to do something pretty tough for a lot of people. You have to make a phone call. And when you do, we can connect you with a life recovery group, or we can help you start a life recovery group. It's really, really very simple. And what we've seen is that some people that have been in recovery that didn't use a Christian foundation, biblical foundation for the steps, they kind of stagnate, and then they come to this, and their recovery gets richer and richer every day. Well, thank you for joining me for Life Recovery Today. We'll see you next week, and I'm going to be with you that entire program. If you need help, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Thanks for joining me. See you soon.
Thanks for joining us for Life Recovery Today with Stephen Arterburn. We hope this program has helped you integrate God's truth and wisdom into your recovery journey. This program is brought to you by New Life Ministries, and it's your support that keeps this program on the air. When you contact us for any reason, be sure to let us know that you watch on NRB. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to liferecoverytoday.net. Please join us again next week for more Life Recovery Today.